Imagine this. You live in a farmhouse, miles from your nearest neighbour. It's 1,922 no cell phones, no 911. No quick way to call for help. One winter night, you hear footsteps in the attic. You step outside and notice footprints in the snow leading straight to your home. But here's the thing, there are no footprints leading back. Days later, your entire family is brutally murdered, one by one, with a pickaxe. The killer stays in your house, eating your food, tending your animals, and living among the corpses for days. This isn't a horror movie. This really happened. This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck Murders, Germany's creepiest unsolved case. The victims were the Gruber family of Hinterkaifeck Farm, about 40 miles north of Munich. The farm was isolated, just a handful of buildings surrounded by endless woods and fields. The household included Andreas Gruber, the 63-year-old patriarch, his wife, Cecilia, age 72, their widowed daughter, Victoria, 35, Victoria's two children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph, and finally their maid Maria, who had just started working there. The Grubers had a reputation in the village. Some saw them as hard-working farmers. Others whispered about their secrets. Andreas, the father, was disliked, strict, harsh, and rumoured to have an incestuous relationship with his daughter Victoria. In fact, records show the two were once convicted of incest in court, though Victoria always denied it. This scandal left a shadow over the family, and some villagers quietly wondered, did that shadow lead to their violent end? In the days leading up to the murders, strange events terrified the Grubers. Andreas told neighbours he found footprints in the snow leading directly to the house from the forest, but none leading back. Who had come to the house? Where had they gone? Then came the noises. Footsteps in the attic, doors unlocking themselves, tools disappearing. Even a set of house keys went missing. The maid at the time was so frightened that she quit her job. She swore the house was haunted, but the Grubers didn't leave. Instead, they hired a new maid, Maria Baumgartner. Tragically, she would arrive on the farm on March 31st, 1922. Her first day of work was her last. Investigators believe the attacker somehow lured 4 family members, Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and little 7-year-old Cecilia, out to the barn. One by one, they were killed with a mattock, a type of pickaxe. Then the killer went inside the farmhouse. Baby Joseph was murdered in his crib. The new maid Maria was slaughtered in her bedroom. The brutality was staggering. Victoria had signs of strangulation. Andreas's face was so disfigured he could barely be recognized. Little Cecilia, the 7-year-old, lived long enough to rip out handfuls of her own hair in terror before dying. But the scariest part? The killer didn't leave. For days, no one knew what had happened. The family wasn't seen around the village. Little Cecilia missed school. The Grubers didn't show up for church. On April 4th, concerned neighbours went to the farm. They found the animals restless but well fed. Smoke rose from the chimney. Someone had been living there. Then came the horror. In the barn, they found the bodies of Andreas, his wife, Victoria, and young Cecilia, stacked on top of each other, covered with hay. Inside, baby Joseph was found in his crib, and maid Maria in her bed. The killer had stayed on the farm for days, sleeping in the house, feeding the cattle, even cooking meals, while 6 bodies lay lifeless on the property. Police were baffled. Over 100 people were questioned, but clues only deepened the mystery. The weapon, a mattock, was found hidden in the attic. The house keys had been taken. Money was still in the home, untouched. Whoever did this was careful, methodical, and comfortable enough to remain on the property. But who could it be? Over the years, several theories have emerged. Theory 1. A jealous neighbour. Andreas was known for being harsh and cruel. He quarrelled with neighbours often. Could someone have snapped and taken revenge? Theory 2. A robbery gone wrong, but money and valuables were untouched. This wasn't about wealth. Theory 3. A family secret. Many believed Joseph, the 2-year-old, was the product of an incestuous relationship between Andreas and his daughter Victoria. Others whispered that Victoria's lover, a local man named Lorenz Schlittenbauer, was the real father. Lorenz even led neighbours to the crime scene. Some point out that he seemed unusually familiar with the farm, unlocking doors and moving about as if he knew where everything was. Suspicious? Maybe, but he was never convicted. Theory 4. The stranger in the attic. Remember those footsteps? The missing keys? Some believe the killer had been living in the attic for days or even weeks before the murders, quietly watching, waiting, and planning the slaughter. Theory 5. A wandering vagrant or soldier. Post-World War I Germany was filled with displaced people, traumatized soldiers, and drifters. Some argue an outsider passed through and committed the crime. But why stay in the house for days afterward? Each theory has holes. None fully explain the horror at Hinterkaifeck. The farmhouse was eventually demolished in 1923, but the murders have never been forgotten. Even today, over a century later, the case still fascinates investigators and true crime fans around the world. Police files have been reopened multiple times, most recently in 2007, when modern investigators reviewed the evidence. They concluded that the killer was most likely known to the family, but with no living witnesses left, the case remains officially unsolved. So who killed the Gruber family of Hinterkaifeck? A jealous neighbour, a rejected lover, or a madman hiding in the attic? We may never know. But one thing is certain. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the creepiest, most unsettling unsolved crimes in history. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe.